What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Strength is the Foundation. Today we're going to be looking at the deadlift and quite specifically how we take the slack out of the bar. Here we go. All right, so let's have a look at these deadlifts. Now, first of all, let's talk about why is it called a deadlift. Well, basically, you're lifting the bar from a dead position, i.e. the bar is stationary on the floor and you are breaking inertia to move that bar. Okay, so unlike the other power lifts like the squat and the bench press, there is a concentric and eccentric. The eccentric, the lowering, and the concentric, the raising of that weight. With the squat, you will have a stretch reflex. When you get to depth, you'll get the muscles stretch, and then you can actually, I wouldn't say bounce out of the squat. That's not quite the right thing to do. But you get that reflex action of the stretching of the muscles to get you back out of the hole. With the bench press, there is a not so much, because in competition you have to stop the bar on your chest momentarily until the referee tells you to press it. But there is still a stretching portion before you then raise the bar. But with this, the bar is dead, so that hence the name deadlift. So we have to break inertia. Okay, so if we're talking about, Newton's law of motion, body in motion stays in motion, body at rest stays at rest until a force equal or opposite is able to cause it to act differently. So the force that is caused, the body at rest is the bar. The force causing it to act differently is you getting that bar off the floor. It needs to break inertia because it is literally not moving. Force of gravity is stopping it there. It is staying there until you can apply enough force to get that bar moving. And then we're coming to the point of like how we take the slack out of the bar. Can you see that bar as I'm getting myself in a position? You can see it's actually bending. Yeah, because I am creating so much force through the floor to cause that bar to bend, i.e. take the slack out of the bar. But there's a way of doing it. It's not just a case of yanking at the bar so that it bends. That's not the same thing. So I don't like to use the phrase when I'm coaching this. I don't like to use the phrase bend the bar because that's not going to produce the correct result if you don't understand it correctly. The bar will bend as a result of you creating enough force between you and the floor and the bar. The bar will bend as a result. But bending the bar, you can do that just by shaking at the darn thing. I've seen some people just like shake it, yank it. Yes, the bar bends, but in so yanking at the bar, you're losing the efficiency and the tightness that you should be creating with the actual performance of an efficient deadlift. So if you have a look at this side position here, I'm just going to pause this video right about here. Let's have a look at that back here. Let's have a look. See where it stops. So you can possibly see here. All right, let's just go here and then pause. Pause right there. So there's something that I coach when I'm coaching the deadlift. I say that there's three parameters that need to be in place. And I say this: your arms need to be as long as they could be. Arms as long as they can be. Okay, that's parameter number one. Parameter number two, which is a little bit, it raises a few eyebrows. Or I say, your hips need to be as high as they can be. Yeah, so arms as long as they can be, hips as high as they can be. Okay, but wait for it. But within this context, if you have a look at this, while armpits, are over the center of the bar. Okay, I'm going to say that again. Arms as long as they can be, hips as high as they can be, while armpits are over the bar. If you think of those three things, that's going to give you the optimal position to enable you to create the tension on the bar for it to break inertia and move. Okay, because if your arms, okay, let's mess with that a little bit, yeah. So let's say my hips are as high as they can be. Okay, so your hips are going to be right somewhere up here. Okay, and my arms are as long as they can be. Okay, but so my hips are somewhere up here. If my hips are up here, look, what's going to happen to my armpits or the shoulder girdle here? It's actually going to be, if the hips are up here, the shoulders are going to be beyond the bar. You know? Let's take another parameter. My arms are as long as they can be, but my hips aren't as high as they can be. So therefore the hips are going to be low. And I see this many times in the gym where people are really quite low in the deadlift and they're almost squatting it out of the starting position. They're squatting it up when they should be driving through the floor with their legs. And you're unable to do that if your hips are too low. Again, if your hips are too low, but the arms are as long as they can be, the hips are down here, the armpit portion is going to be behind the center of the bar. Do you see what I'm saying here? Okay, so if you have to have all three parameters in place with the context that the armpits need to be over. If your armpits are over the bar and your arms are as long as they can be, your hips are going to be as high as they can be. It's not going to have, otherwise if I was to drop my hips a bit, my arms will no longer be as long as they can be. Even if my armpits are over the bar, I'm going to have some slack there. So we need long arms, long arms, yeah? High hips, armpit over the bar. Now that is going to give you the optimal starting position for your deadlift to enable you to take the slack out and drive the feet through the floor. Now, a little tip, a couple of things that Ed Cohen used to say, you know, everyone knows him as the GOAT, you know, one of the greatest powerlifters that ever lived. So he says, wedge into that bar, wedge yourself into the bar and chest up. Think chest up. If your chest is up, so if you think of those parameters, long arms, high hips, armpits over the bar, and then automatically your chest is going to go up, yeah, and you're going to be wedging into that bar, yeah. So you're wedged into the bar. I want to backtrack just a second and look if we could possibly see it here from this angle. I've got other angles as well, so don't worry about that. We'll get there. That's it. So where I stand on this deadlift. I mean, this is not a beginner's video, okay? So I already assume you guys know how to deadlift. However, you know, I'm standing about an inch, a couple of inches. My shins are a couple of inches away from the bar, yeah? Or the bar is at midfoot. And that's different for everyone, okay? Because we've got different sized feet, we've got different limb length, etc. But that's where we start. So I'm assuming that you've got the right foot position so that you can create that wedge. So I'm going to shift back to here. There we go. So to create the correct wedge, so you're wedging into that bar, so your chest goes up. Okay, now at that point, I am able to create tension. You've seen in the previous angle how that bar was bending. Another thing you can think of, which I find very, very helpful when I'm coaching this, you can see it in the background there, it's the leg press. So I'm sure at one point in time you guys have used a leg press. Think about leg pressing. The first sequence of the deadlift is literally a leg press. You're using your legs to push that floor, push down on the floor so the bar moves up. Think about a leg press. I would often challenge people. Now, if you think about, if I see that leg press in the corner there, I know the back angle will be slightly different, but if I set that leg press so that the knee angle is similar, so we're not going full range of movement, but I could probably load that to 300. And most people will be able to move that 300 once, providing that the knee angle is about this. Yeah, so I don't know, what is that? It's beyond, well, it's well beyond 90 degrees, isn't it? So it's well like 120 degrees, okay? So therefore you're not moving it through full range of movement. But I bet that you could probably, if you set that leg press up to like 300 kgs, you could push that away from you probably once. That's not to say that you could pull a 300 deadlift, yeah? Some of you may be able to do that already, but that's not to say you would, because the thing is that the leg press is a little bit different, because the back is being supported, so the stability at the back is being supported by the back pad of the leg press. So the difference being, or two differences being, okay, so we've got that leg angle, yeah. So let's say supposing we tried that theory out, we tried out my theory. We had this leg angle at that leg press. We whacked it up to 300k. Yeah, hell, yeah, I can push that away from me. Okay. Now we've got to try and create a similar situation. However, it's not as easy, because the stability of that back pad is going to be created by the musculature of your whole back here, upper lower back. That's the stability portion. That is the isometric contractions of these muscles here, which are holding your back in position, kind of like mimicking that back pad on that leg press that you've got over there. But we ain't got a back pad. Yeah, we can't push our back against this thing here. We've got to create stability across there. The next thing that we've got is that on the leg press, you ain't holding 300 kilos in your hands. Okay, so therefore grip strength comes into play as well. So we've got to be able to be strong enough to hold onto the bar, and strong enough to create stability, tension, and a rigid spine, so that we can then, you create that, so rigid arms, long arms, rigid spine, push, yeah? So think about that. Push that weight away from you as if you're trying to do a leg press. So that is my point about the deadlift, in terms of that this really has helped a lot of people that I coach to rethink what they're trying to do. You've got to hold all of this musculature really, really rigid, but you're pushing away. Okay, so you're not yanking. It's not a grip and rip. Let me play this again so we can see what's going on. It's not a grip and rip. Yeah, it's actually it's quite a smooth motion. Can you notice how I'm tipping there? You see that tip? Bang, tip. Let me play that back again. Let's have a look. Let's just keep playing that through. You see, what I like to do also when I'm training, think of every single rep as being a separate entity. Yeah, think about every rep as a separate set. I see many people in the gym trying to get through their set as quickly as possible. You know, they're trying to bang at their deadlifts, bang, 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 bouncing off the floor, getting through it as quickly as they possibly can. When I'm training and when I coach people to do this, and that's not just for deadlift, that's for your squat and your bench as well, is I am coaching them to think about. Let's think about the rep. Let's get the rep right, and then let's get the next rep, and let's try and make that rep better than the previous one, and then the next rep, make that better than the previous one that you're doing. See, every rep that you do, think about this. Every rep that you do is an opportunity to get better. I'm going to say this a lot in these videos. It might be the first time I've said it so far, but every rep that you do is an opportunity for you to get better. So take your time through your reps. Don't rush the set. Don't rush. Oh, I'm trying to get 3 to 4 reps and bang them out as quickly as possible. Think about, what have you learned? You've learned to move the weight really, really quickly and get through your set quite quickly. But have you been engaging the correct sequence of events? Have you engaged that? Well, let's have a look. Let me talk you through, what's going through my head as I'm lifting. We'll go past this one. Let's have a look. Right, just lift there, bang, out it goes. Next one, let's have a look. Chest up, push, down. Knees through, chest up, push, down. Knees through, chest up, push, then down. Yeah, I'm gonna go again. Let's go again. Let's go again. Okay, chest up, knees through, push. Chest up, knees through, push. Everything's the same. It's like I'm thinking of myself as a machine, as a lifting machine. I am lifting. I'm gonna do that again, over and over. I'm trying to get precision. I'm trying to get repeatability in the lift, because on the day of the competition, I only get 1 rep anyway. So I don't get a chance to try and to perfect the rep in the competition, because we're only lifting one rep per attempt. Yeah. So I need to perfect this in the gym, and that's what I'm doing. That's what's going on in my head when I'm lifting. Yeah. And so look, we'll have a look at this out. Look, tip, bend, push, through. Tip, bend, push, through. So the hips go. What I do actually like to do is throw the hips up in between reps. You don't have to do this. Not everyone does it this way. They do things differently. But when I finish that rep down, my hips come back up. Then I bring my knees through again. Then I can engage, get the bend, get that sweet spot. It's almost like, yeah, that's sweet. That's a good word. The sweet spot. I don't know if anybody you drive a manual. I also think of it as the biting point. You know, the biting point when the car starts to pull away. I think of, I'm trying to gain the biting point. That's the biting point where the bar is maximum tension, and my position, my lifting position, is optimal for me to push my feet through the floor. So, and again, so I'm just practicing it again and again and again, and that's why we do reps, guys. We keep them relatively low anyway. So I mean, in terms of my rep selection, what I would do, I'd probably do a top set of 5. Sometimes I'll do a top set of 5 and my back offs of 6, and that's quite high. 6 are quite high, but that's if I'm just trying to get some volume. I'm way away from competition, but I just want to get some volume in, and I want to get some practice in of my reps. I want to get that done. So I'll just do a top set of 5, drop 10%, and I'll do back offs of 6. But similarly, you can do top sets of 3, back offs of 4, dropping 10% for that. As I said, I will go through programming and how I like to program in another video. But that in essence is really how you deadlift, and why you deadlift, and how you take the slack out of the bar, and what's all going on. The takeaways from that, guys, is just take your time with your reps. Yeah, every rep you do, again, is a chance to get better. It's a chance to improve yourself. So think of it as, I remember listening to one of the powerlifters. I don't know who it was, can't remember, that name escapes me. But what they were saying is that we shouldn't call it training, we should call it practice. Because that's what we're doing. We're practicing, we're perfecting our craft, so to speak, so that when we go to the platform and we're doing it in competition, we've got it down. We don't have to think about it. We get up there, we've got the loading bar, and we just lift it. Drop me a note in the comments, let me know how you're getting on, and I'll see you again soon. Isha! Thanks very much for watching. If you found this video helpful, please like and subscribe. Ish! Boom!